Ryan Stevens here with Mortgage Shots and the National Real Estate Post. Listen, for real estate agents out there right now, this is a big heads up. For loan officers, this is also. But agents, I want you to follow what you're about to hear and listen closely. So today I have Suzanne Peters. She's with EXP and she's out of Chico, California, a small town. She's been in real estate for about 2 years. She moved here from out of town, does not have a database, and has done extraordinary things. So Suzanne, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me on today.
Okay, hey, listen, let's jump right into this. What does your business look like right now? How many do you have in escrow? How many listings do you have? How many buyers do you have? Just a snapshot of today. And by the way, and how many listings do you have coming that you know are on the way?
So it's just May 2nd, and I've already closed 21 for the year, and I currently have 8 more pending in escrow. I currently have 15 active listings, and in the month of May, I know I have 10 listings coming on board.
Okay, so listen, those numbers they're crazy. They're absolutely crazy. When you have 99 out of 100 realtors who are struggling in this market, finding every reason not to succeed, what is it that you're doing different than other agents that you would attest it to? And there's no right or wrong answer. Very similar to what we talked about yesterday. Just let me know what you think about real estate.
So I think real estate, as in anything, is number one about perspective. Because since I'm new to the industry, I didn't realize that I joined in a bad economy. I didn't have this preconceived notion that it was going to immediately be difficult. And so all I knew is that if I put my head down and if I started doing the work, and the work being getting in front of people, I knew that the numbers would work themselves out and I would begin having transactions. And, I really apply the laws of the universe in a lot of what I do. So Sir Isaac Newton said an object in motion tends to stay in motion. So my number one goal, my first year, I didn't care who you were, what you were buying, I was willing to help. And that has gotten me literally into a snowball that I really feel like I can't stop even if I wanted to.
You talked about the importance of relationships. And it's interesting because you didn't have the established relationships that a lot of people kind of take for granted. And you talked about the importance of people inside and outside of relationships. And what does that mean to you? And how does that affect your business?
Well, obviously relationships are important, but I think what's more important is your ability to create a relationship on the fly, because any entrepreneur knows that your family and friends will probably be the least likely to support your own business. So number one, I don't look for a handout. I don't look for someone who's in my Rolodex to just hand me business. I'm willing to go work for it.
Yeah.
And in a way, I feel like you shouldn't do that. I mean, I feel like even your friends and family, you should still earn their business. And I think the best way to do that is to go out and actually work with the cold market per se and show that you can build a business without having that handout. And I think people are more willing to work with you because they realize that you're credible, not just because you're their friend or their family, but because you've actually been out there doing the work. Like, for instance, I have a father-in-law who actually has a piece of business that he still hasn't given me. And it's not because he doesn't believe in me. It's because I just can't convince him it's time for him to sell yet. But I know eventually I will get that business. But because I've been honing in on my craft, I'm going to be that much better when he does give it to me versus if he would have just handed it over to me the first year.
It's funny. You said something really subtle there. You said, I got a father-in-law who hasn't given me his business because I haven't convinced him to sell yet. What you just said there is like maybe your friends and family are the least likely to give you their business. But I see so many agents and even loan officers who just really kind of just dig in on this. Oh my God, my brother-in-law, my brother, my father, my mother, they use somebody else. And they ruminate on these things. And there is a taking for granted, of somebody's business. And you talked about staying busy as a means of not allowing yourself to kind of become one of those agents who will fixate on things that will keep them from doing what they should do. Can you address that?
Yeah. So when you're an entrepreneur and you're running your own business, there are a million things that you have to manage. And one of the most important being your emotions. And our emotions are based a lot about, number one, productivity, but number two, obviously we're here to make money. And depending upon your financial situation, sometimes it can feel like you're working with a gun to your head. And a lot of people fold under that pressure. There's very few people that thrive on that kind of pressure. And we all, whether we are fully developed, in terms of how to control our emotions and everything, we all at some point freeze in fear, freeze in being scared and all of that. So I knew going into this that my number one thing that I knew I could control was going to be my emotions, but I had to have enough activity where I didn't even have the influence of missing a paycheck or, missing a listing or losing a buyer.
It's like if you lose a buyer or you miss a listing, you've got 50,000 other things that you're preoccupied with and you don't have the time to sit down and stew on it, right?
Right. And apologize about that. But you have to get activity in motion, because right now I have so much business that if a buyer were to decide to go a different direction, I had a listing that was supposed to go live in April. And when I reached out and said, hey, are we ready to go? She was like, yeah, actually, I need to wait till June. Honestly, in my mind, I was saying, thank God, because I was wondering how I was going to accommodate her at that moment. So I think if people are able to get your activity to such a higher level, you can control your emotion. And now you're almost like in cruise control, because again, our emotions and our feelings, they move us in and out of things throughout our life every day. So if we can master that, and it comes from having activity, I just think you have a bigger shot of actually delivering a better quality product, because I don't go sell someone a home. I don't have a listing presentation where I have to sell myself. I go have a conversation with people, and if they say yes, great. If they say I'm going to wait, perfect. I have other people I'm working with. You're not my only one. So I think people, again, like I can sell, ice to an Eskimo, I've heard, but I don't sell. Like, again, I have no presentation for a buyer or a seller. I lead on relationship only. If you like me, love will work with you. If you don't, that's totally fine. I will find someone who will.
It's kind of like when you don't have activity, when you're not constantly moving, you have time to stew on the negative things. Right. And it can put you in a negative frame of mind. And then when you finally get a client, you feel this huge amount of pressure to sell. And that comes across. And when you look at the numbers of clients and how they feel about their real estate agents, I think it was 67% of people who were recently polled just said that they believe that their real estate agent puts their commission above what their true needs are. But when you stay active, what I think I'm hearing you saying is you don't need to sell. It affords you the opportunity to have those conversations, to put people at ease, to let them know that you're helping them. It's kind of like you can compound this thing going up, or you can compound this thing going down. Right. And you said something yesterday that I thought was really, really, really great. You said, you can also work your way to the bottom.
Yeah. Results don't lie. And we are either doing things that are taking us to the top, or they're accelerating us to the bottom. And again, your activities, it doesn't matter if you are the most talented or the most, the smartest. The first week that I got in the business, I had a mentor, and she had this checklist of things she wanted to review with me and sit down and role play and practice writing offers. And I said, with all due respect, the only offers I'm going to write is for a real client. And a week later, I brought a client to the table, and it was a 7-day all cash close, and I sold a property. And that was the first contract I ever wrote. But it was because I knew that I need to do the real activity. And so many people, they spend their time doing things that isn't money producing activities, like income producing activities. Yep. And they're going to quickly find their way to the bottom. And one of those things that we touched on earlier, but bring it back again, is going to be your attitude. I never once have said this economy sucks. I never once have said, man, it's hard out here. I've never once said nobody wants to buy or sell. Those words have never come out of my mouth, even though I've heard them out of so many other people's. I have plenty. I have so much. I turn business away, which is crazy because some people can't find a buyer or seller under a rock, but they're right there.
It's funny. It's like you said, you've never said this economy sucks. Well, the economy doesn't suck for you.
Right.
You've created your own personal economy.
Right.
And, and the thing is a lot of people hang their hat on these type of things. And you're right. I hear this so many times. I love what you said about money-making activities. Like, people will get sidetracked with something that they're like in like their point of sale. They don't like it. Something's wrong with it, or something's going wrong in their office, or somebody's pissing them off, or, something's happening with their kids. And like, all of these things are just distractions. And, there's a common denominator of top producers. And when I sat down with you yesterday, I'm like, I'm seeing it once again. It's the same thing. I want to ask you this, though, because I know a lot of agents and even loan officers are thinking it. It's like, okay, I buy in, Suzanne. I buy in. I don't have any business. I've been here forever. I've been in the business for 10 years. What's my next step? What is the actual next step? What do I need to do? Like, how did you start? When you showed up, it's pretty extraordinary. Just 2 years in, no database, and here you are, the top producing EXP agent in the state of California. Isn't that correct?
I have sold the most homes so far this year than any other agent.
After 2 years with no database. So with somebody who doesn't have anything, like, what were your first steps? Okay, I'm doing this. You brought somebody to the table after 7 days. What were those activities that generated those type of outcomes?
So I'm a very no excuse kind of person. My husband was working a job, but I learned from one of my mentors that you always have the proceeds of your own business. You reinvest that into your business. So I knew, okay, I need to create some transactions quickly. And so honestly, I sat there and I Googled how to get free leads, for buyers and sellers, how to do pay at closing. And I signed up for every single one of them. You'd be surprised. I mean, I think I'm a part of like 50 or 60 different pay at closing models where people will send you leads. And if you can close them, just give them a kickback for the marketing and delivering the lead to you. And I just went to town. I mean, one thing about me is that I do not have a territory.
Oh. Let's talk about that.
Will go wherever a buyer and seller. I mean, I explored parts of California that I'm sure California natives have never seen. It is because, I would go anywhere. I didn't care the price point. People, when I first got in the business, they were like, oh, don't go look at it. Don't go show a buyer property if they're not pre-approved. I said, screw that idea. I'm going to prove to people I'm here to help, whether they're actually ready or not, because if they're not ready, at least they'll know that I was committed to them even when they weren't ready, so they won't pick another realtor over me. But I will go wherever. And because of that, I have listings from Stockton all the way up to Wairika. I've sold from the Nevada border all the way to the coast. A day in the life. Again, I feel blessed that we have the ability to earn the kind of income that we do. And so when I get a client where I have to drive 2 hours each way, I don't say, oh, this is too much work. Like, how dare me feel so entitled that I can't put 4 hours into going meet with a client when, if they're a buyer or a seller, like maybe in total I spend 40 hours with them. And let's just say I only make 10 grand. Like, tell me what occupation you can work 40 hours in 1 week and make 10 grand.
Yep.
I'll sit and wait.
As I told you, there's common denominators amongst top producers. Last Friday, I interviewed a guy in Southern California. His name is Joshua Glaze. And he said almost verbatim what you're saying right now. He'll go anywhere. He doesn't mind. He goes, I'll show houses anywhere. And he driving 2 hours to go see a client, to take a listing, to show a house. He goes, I just do what I have to do, man. It's what you said. It's a make no excuses approach to this. Joanna and I were talking on the way back, and we were kind of just looking back on our conversation. I go, did you hear when she said she went to Redding? Like, I'm like, Redding? Because, Chico to Redding, that's not an easy drive. And you said it just was flippant to you. It was just nothing to you. The other part that I thought was kind of cool, and she goes, oh yeah, did you hear that? She goes, oh, she doesn't mind the drive because it gives her a chance to catch up on her calls. So again, when you say that you're constantly in motion, a body in motion stays in motion. Mm-hmm. You're not joking about that. These aren't just words to be taken lightly. This is what you do every day.
And the activity will breed results. And the activity can't be studying for another certificate or certification. Like, honestly, Your clients could give a rip about what 3 initials come after your name. Number one, they want to know, are you going to answer your phone when they call? Are you going to be on time? Are you going to, really work for them? So I keep the main thing the main thing. What do we get paid to do? Sell a house, list a house, and get it under contract. And the number one way to do that is to just be in front of people. And again, if someone is struggling, like I wasn't necessarily struggling, I was just starting out. So I was going from 0 miles an hour, needing to get going. One of my mentors would always paint this analogy that a rocket ship uses 80% of its fuel to get off the ground. So when you're starting a business, no matter what it is, you have to put so much force that you can break through that barrier of, the different stratospheres and all that you have to push through that. And once you get up there, it's like cruise control. You don't even have to use that much energy. Am I working hard? No. Like, that's what I would say. Am I being productive? Yes. But I do not labor every day, go home exhausted. I literally sit at home with my daughter, play outside, whatever, until I have a lead. Like, I don't put 8 hours necessarily in every day, and I don't have to. I don't do the things that are not yielding results. And I think, again, that's what a lot of people do is they put their energy and time into things that are not giving them what they want in the end. And that's where you have to stop.
I've said this for years. Those designations at NAR is such a money-making racket. It's unbelievable. And you're right, it takes your eyes off the prize. By the way, I forgot to throw in here, Suzanne also has a young child on top of this. 2 years, young child, no database, spend her time doing this. What I also love that you just said is when I was struggling, well, no, I wasn't struggling. It's when I was starting. You didn't see it as a struggle. You just saw it as a start. That's where you were at that moment.
Right.
And you knew
and anyone can be at that start. You don't have to be struggling. You can just say, today, you know what? Today, my business is starting over. Today is day one.
And you're right. A lot of people, again, getting fixated on all the wrong things. It's a bad economy. Things are hard right now. I'm struggling. It's like, make your own personal economy like Suzanne has. And yesterday, and you kind of touched on it, you're a one-trick pony. You do real estate and you go home and you're with your family and with your daughter. And you don't preoccupy yourself with 50,000 other things that, are not necessarily going to yield the results that you want in your life. It's not just your business. You're focused on your business and your family. And I think that's a real huge, huge part of it. I think we need to sit down and kind of look at how we spend our day and how we spend our hours. How many hours are we flipping through social media? How many hours are we having water cooler talk about things that are negative, things that are not helping our business, getting us where we want to be? When you talk to top producers, this is always it's always the same narrative. And the other part is that I think is huge is taking accountability. And one of the things that you said, you were talking about a mirror. So let's talk about that for a second.
So when you enter into business for yourself, you are really looking at a mirror. Because I've mentored people in other businesses, even in real estate already. I am a certified mentor with EXP. I would not be the best mentor for everybody because I do not hold hands. I definitely make people put their feet to the fire because, again, your business is going to be 100% a reflection of you. If you're not making enough money, it's because of you. If your clients are leaving you, it's because of you. There's always things that reveal what you need to work on. If you don't have enough clients in the pipeline, it's because of you. I mean, and that's a hard reality for a lot of people because, number one, people do business with who they know, like, and trust. How quickly can you get people to feel like they know you, like you, and know that they can trust you? That is a skill. And do I think anyone can learn it? To a degree, yeah. But you have to abandon, like when I meet people and I'm a real estate agent, I do not start talking about real estate and that I'm a real estate agent and always look at each person as like an object or a sale. I just build relationships. If I'm outside taking my daughter to the children's museum and there's another mom, I'm just talking to her as another mom. If she starts asking me questions, that's fine. But I do know agents where they lead with it. It's like that is their identity. My identity is not as a real estate agent. My identity as me and as a mom, but I sell real estate. And the mirror is very, very telling to, again, anybody and everybody. Look at your relationships. It's a mirror, like if your relationships are failing, hey, you're part of it. That is really hard for people. And I don't think everybody is called to be an entrepreneur. Some people have to be. I mean, think about it. To make the world go round, all of us can't be entrepreneurs. Some people, their fit isn't here. And I think some people maybe don't listen to the mirror when it's talking to them.
Right.
They don't listen, they don't respond, they don't critique. And I've spent my whole life in leadership and in personal development. So I've been looking in the mirror for a long time. So I didn't just show up and this was my first experience running my own business or in commission, but I really built myself in other things. And so when I came here, I had a lot of principles that I knew if I applied, they would work. And magically, they worked. But it's not like it wasn't a surprise. I knew if I focused on activity, the right things would happen. If I got busy, I would become a snowball and then it would continuously be busy. So there's principles that, again, if people would just align themselves with, it would work for them. But the mirror's real and you got to listen to it.
You know, it's all about being critical of yourself, that whole self-analysis. It's hard to do because we spend so much time reinforcing what's comfortable. And rather than looking at ourselves in that mirror and saying, hold on, I'm not doing as good as I can do. I'm not taking another word you use is the shortest distance. It's just, it's the hard work approach. It's just really kind of seeing don't you think it's kind of like seeing not selling somebody something, but kind of helping them with what they need, whatever it is and whatever you can do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think friendship is about give and take, right? Generally speaking. And
Sure.
I think if you lead with a relationship approach, yeah, you're finding where you can be a resource. You know, like having a conversation. If someone brings something up, obviously you can be a resource to them. And again, I think it's just coming from a place of, genuine care. And again, I just had a client who's moving from Napa up to Paradise. And when I met them after we were done with our tours, but before we left, she, the lady, she's older, she's been around the block a couple times. And she said, hey, I just want you to know we've dealt with about 15 purchases and sales in our lifetime. And she said, I just want you to know you're great. She said, we have something to compare you against and you're great. And I thought that was the greatest compliment, because
it is.
Here I am not feeling like I'm doing anything out of the ordinary. I didn't extend or go any extra mile, but sometimes just being good, you're great. And we kind of talked about this as well yesterday, is that number one, it's lonely at the top. The majority of agents are all at the bottom. Like, it is not hard to be a top agent. Like you said, your competition sucks.
Yep.
Literally. I mean,
it's true.
And so that lady, again, me just being on time, being friendly, again, just working like a human, a human to a human, trying to help this process. She was like, you're great. She said, we're so happy we got you.
You know what I think it is? I don't think it's being great or being good or being bad. I think what it is with you, I think it's being genuine. I really think it's being genuine. And I did a speaking event out in St. Louis one time. The realtors, were showing up late, and it's like, everyone was saying, well, there's realtor hours. I said, oh, so you guys have realtor hours, huh? Everyone shows up 10, 15 minutes late. And I said, and I was laughing about it. They were laughing. I said, do you know what that means to clients? It means you're unreliable. Like, we set this appointment at 8:00. You showed up at 7:59. And this is not an accident. This is all by design. You have to really kind of figure out what your priorities are and who you want to be. And then, like you said, with that mirror, you have to say, am I the agent? Am I the person that I'm professing to be, right? Am I meeting my own expectations? And that matters a lot to you. And again, you wear it on your sleeves. You absolutely wear it on your sleeves. And there's a reason why, and there's common denominators with all top agents. Let me ask you this just in closing. You're talking to an agent today. What's your just singular piece of advice? You can't encapsulate everything into one point. But what would you really like to convey to agents and loan officers, frankly, out there that you think is really important?
Number one, I would say find what works for you. And like we mentioned, I don't do social media. I mainly don't do that because I'm already on the phone a lot, texting and calling. And I have a 3-year-old and she's extremely impressionable. And I did not want her to see me doing videos all the time or talking, then want to always be on the phone because they already see it enough. And so I didn't go the social media route. And does it work? Absolutely. I decided to lead with the pay at closing model because, again, I either have to invest my own money into marketing or I could take a pay at closing where they've already invested that. But I think the biggest thing is just telling people to get into action because, again, action will lead to results. But if you're, again, just trying to study and you don't think you know enough, you're never going to know enough.
Right.
None of us are, especially in the state of California. They change the laws every day. You're never going to be there. I mean, there's people around you. That's why you have resources. That's why you have lenders. That's why you have a broker. That's why you have a mentor. So you're not going to know everything, but just go get the business. You'll figure it out.
Suzanne, thank you so much for your time today.